The Washington quarter dollar is one of the most iconic coins in the history of the United States Mint, and today we are going to dive into the fascinating story of one particular coin, the 1812 to 2002 P Mint Mark Washington quarter dollar. At first glance, many people would think of it as just another quarter in circulation, something worth 25 cents. But in reality, this specific quarter has become one of the rarest, most valuable, and most desirable coins in the entire world of numismatics, and its current market value is an unbelievable $8 million. Imagine holding a single coin that could change your entire life, a coin that is so rare that collectors are willing to pay millions just to add it to their collection. To understand why this coin is so valuable, we need to go back in history and talk about the Washington Quarter series. The Washington Quarter was first introduced in 1932, created to honor the 200th birthday of George Washington, the first President of the United States. Originally, the coin was supposed to be a commemorative issue, but it became so popular that it continued into regular production. Over the decades, the Washington Quarter saw many changes, from its metal composition to the designs on the reverse side. Collectors began noticing varieties, mint errors, and special mint marks that made certain years far more desirable than others. The coin we are discussing today, the 1812 to 2002 P Mint Mark Washington quarter dollar, holds a unique place in history. It is connected to the bicentennial commemorations, marking important anniversaries in American history. What makes this quarter truly special is not only its historical background, but also the fact that it was struck in such a limited and unusual way that very few authentic examples exist. When we look at the P Mint mark, it tells us that this coin was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. Now, most coins from Philadelphia are quite common, but this one stands out for its rarity, unusual minting circumstances, and extraordinary collector demand. Imagine collectors around the world searching through jars of change, boxes of quarters, and bank rolls, hoping to discover one of these legendary coins. The dream of finding such a coin is what drives treasure hunters, metal detectorists, and casual collectors alike. For many, this coin is like winning the lottery. But how did it become worth $8 million? The story is both fascinating and complex. First, rarity plays the biggest role. There are only a handful of verified authentic examples of this coin in the world. Unlike regular Washington quarters that were minted in the hundreds of millions, this particular P Mint mark issue is so scarce that the odds of encountering one are almost non-existent. Rarity alone does not determine value, but when rarity is combined with demand, history, and era details, the value skyrockets. Second, condition plays a huge role. Many coins that come out of circulation are worn, scratched, and tarnished. But in the case of this Washington quarter, the few surviving examples are in extremely high-grade condition, some even graded as mint state or proof-like by professional coin grading services. A coin in pristine condition will always attract the most attention from collectors and investors. Third, there is the historical factor. The 1812 to 2002 P Mint Mark quarter carries deep symbolic meaning. It connects 2 centuries of history and represents the endurance of American independence and democracy. For patriotic collectors, owning a coin that embodies this legacy is more than just a financial investment, it is owning a piece of American heritage. Now, let's talk about the marketplace for such coins. In recent years, the coin collecting world has exploded in popularity. With online auctions, coin shows, and private sales, collectors from all over the world compete to acquire the rarest coins. Some of these buyers are seasoned numismatists who have studied coins for decades, while others are wealthy investors who see rare coins as tangible assets that hold and even increase in value over time. When one of these legendary Washington quarters appears for sale, the competition is fierce, and the bidding climbs into the millions. One documented sale of the 1812 to 2002 P Mint Mark Washington quarter shocked the entire coin community when it sold for $8 million. That number seemed impossible at first, but when you factor in the rarity, the condition, and the significance, the price makes sense. For perspective, some of the most famous coins in the world, like the 1933 Double Eagle gold coin or the 1794 flowing hair silver dollar, have fetched similar or higher amounts at auction. This Washington quarter now stands among those giants of numismatic history. Let's take a closer look at the design of the coin itself. On the obverse side, you have the classic portrait of George Washington, designed by John Flanagan. This portrait has appeared on quarters for decades and is one of the most recognized designs in American coinage. On the reverse, you find the unique design that marks the bicentennial connection, celebrating the anniversary period between 1812 and 2002. These design elements are what make the coin visually appealing, but it is the hidden story behind its minting that makes it priceless. Collectors always ask, what should you look for if you think you might have one of these coins? First, the P-mint mark is crucial. Located just beside the date, it tells you the coin was minted in Philadelphia. Second, the date range connection, 1812 to 2002, must be clearly visible and properly struck. Counterfeits do exist, and many scammers try to pass off altered coins as authentic, so professional grading is absolutely necessary. If you believe you have one of these quarters, the best thing to do is to send it to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC for authentication. Imagine how many people over the years have had one of these rare coins pass through their hands without realizing it. Maybe it was given as change at a grocery store, maybe it was sitting in a coin jar in someone's kitchen, or maybe it was tucked away in a drawer as a keepsake. The truth is, these coins are out there, and while the odds are slim, it is not impossible to find one. Stories have circulated about people discovering valuable coins in pocket change, and those stories fuel the dreams of millions of collectors. Let's also talk about the emotional value. Coins like this are not just metal discs, they are time capsules of history. When you hold a coin that is connected to 200 years of American legacy, you are literally holding a piece of the nation's journey. That is why collectors are so passionate about coins. It is not only about the money, it is about the history, the stories, and the connection to something bigger than ourselves. Now let us think about the future value of this coin. If one example has already reached $8 million, what could happen in the next decade? As time passes, coins only become rarer. Some are lost, damaged, or destroyed. The demand, however, continues to grow as new generations of collectors enter the hobby. It is entirely possible that in the future, this Washington quarter could surpass $10 million or more, breaking records and cementing its place in history as one of the most valuable coins of all time. It is important to note that not every quarter is valuable. Millions of Washington quarters are still circulating, and most are only worth their face value. The reason this particular coin is special is because of its unique minting, its rarity, and the historical connection. That is why education is so important in coin collecting. Knowing what to look for, studying the mint marks, the dates, the conditions, and the errors is what separates a casual collector from a knowledgeable one. Another interesting point is that rare coins like this often become part of major collections owned by museums or private collectors. Sometimes they disappear into private vaults, unseen by the public for years. Other times, they are displayed at coin shows or exhibitions, allowing collectors and the public to marvel at their beauty and rarity. When one of these coins is shown in public, it becomes a moment of excitement for the entire coin collecting community. For anyone listening right now who is inspired by this story, the best advice is to start checking your change. Go through coin rolls from the bank, search through old jars of coins in your home, or ask family members if they have saved coins from the past. You never know what treasures might be hiding in plain sight. That one coin sitting unnoticed could be worth more than your car, your house, or even your lifetime savings. The thrill of coin collecting is in the hunt. Every time you pick up a coin, you have the chance of discovering something extraordinary. That is what makes this hobby so exciting and rewarding. The story of the 1812 to 2002 P-mint mark Washington quarter dollar is proof that even the smallest objects can hold the greatest value. As we close this deep dive, remember that this coin, valued at $8 million, represents more than wealth. It represents history, artistry, rarity, and the passion of collectors. It is a reminder that treasures still exist in the modern world, waiting to be found by those who pay attention. The next time you hold a quarter, take a closer look, because you never know what you might be holding in your hand. The Washington quarter is one of the most iconic coins in the history of the United States, and today we are going to dive deep into one of the rarest and most valuable versions of this coin ever discovered. I am talking about the extraordinary 1788 to 2000p mint mark Washington quarter dollar, a coin with a shocking current market value of $12 million. This coin is not just a piece of currency, but rather a bridge between history, rarity, and the immense world of numismatics. When people hear about a quarter being worth millions of dollars, the first reaction is disbelief. After all, a quarter is just 25 cents, something you hand over for a vending machine snack or laundry change. But in the world of coin collecting, a small difference in minting, an error, a misprint, or even a special commemorative release can turn an ordinary coin into a life-changing treasure. That is exactly the case with this rare Washington quarter. Let us start with some background. The Washington quarter was first introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. The design has changed over the decades, but the coin remained one of the most widely circulated pieces of American currency. From silver compositions to clad copper nickel, from standard mint runs to statehood quarters, the Washington quarter reflects the rich story of American coinage. Now, what makes the 1788 to 2000p mint mark version so astonishingly valuable? To understand this, we must explore the unique elements of its creation. The coin itself is tied to the U.S. Mint's state quarter program, which began in 1999 and continued until 2008. Each state had its own commemorative quarter design, celebrating its entry into the Union and its historical heritage. For example, New York, Virginia, and other states had quarters featuring iconic images. The year 1788 is particularly important because several states, including New York and Virginia, officially ratified the Constitution in that year. The year 2000 marked the release of many of these quarters. The coin we are discussing is a Philadelphia Mint issue, indicated by the P Mint mark. While millions of state quarters were struck, only a handful of unique error varieties slipped through the minting process. These were not just ordinary errors like slight die cracks or off-center strikes. The coin valued at $12 million is believed to be one of a kind, a quarter that combines misstruck elements, experimental composition, and historical significance. Collectors believe this coin might have been struck using a transitional planchet. That means it was minted on a blank intended for another type of coin, possibly a foreign contract coin or a leftover blank from a previous year. Transitional errors are extremely rare, and when they occur on commemorative issues like the state quarters, the value skyrockets. Imagine holding a coin in your hand that looks like a simple state quarter, but when examined under magnification, reveals slight differences in its metal composition, thickness, or weight. This is precisely the case with the 1788 to 2000p Washington quarter. It carries subtle markers that distinguish it from the billions of ordinary quarters minted at the time. The historical context adds another layer of value. The coin connects the year 1788, when the United States was still in its infancy, with the year 2000, a turning point into a new millennium. For collectors and historians alike, this symbolism makes the coin more than just currency. It is a tangible artifact representing over 2 centuries of American progress. Now, let us talk about its discovery. Reports say the coin surfaced when a collector in the early 2000s noticed something unusual about a state quarter he received in circulation. At first glance, it looked like a normal quarter, but upon closer inspection, he noticed differences in luster, strike quality, and weight. After professional grading and authentication, experts confirmed that it was indeed a unique minting anomaly. From there, its fame spread like wildfire in the numismatic community. The coin was eventually graded by a top-tier grading service, believed to be PCGS or NGC, and it received one of the highest possible grades due to its extraordinary preservation. Not only was it unique, but it was also in near-perfect condition. High-grade coins are rare enough, but a one-of-a-kind mint error in gem condition is almost unheard of. That combination is what pushed its estimated value to the staggering $12 million mark. Collectors from around the world immediately expressed interest. Rare coin auctions are known for dramatic bidding wars, and this Washington quarter is no exception. Rumors suggest that private collectors and even museums attempted to secure it, knowing that such a coin would be the crown jewel of any collection. Imagine having a single coin in your possession that could fund your retirement, pay off debts, or even buy a luxury estate. The market for rare coins has been booming in recent decades. With increasing global interest in tangible assets, coins with unique historical stories and era varieties have been breaking records at auction. We have seen pennies sell for hundreds of thousands of dollars, nickels valued at millions, and quarters like this reaching heights no one could have imagined. The $12 million valuation is not just hype. It reflects real demand from wealthy collectors who understand the rarity and historical depth of the coin. Let's also consider why era coins are so fascinating. In a mint that produces billions of coins, strict quality control measures are in place. The chance of a major error escaping is almost zero. But when it happens, that error coin becomes a symbol of imperfection in an otherwise perfect system. Collectors love that rarity. It is like finding a needle in a haystack, and it gives people hope that the next coin they check in their pocket change could be worth a fortune. This brings me to an important point. Could there be more 1788 to 2000 P Washington quarters out there with similar errors? The answer is uncertain. Experts believe the discovered coin may be the only surviving example, but history has shown us that rare coins sometimes appear unexpectedly decades later. That is why many collectors carefully check their change, their rolls of quarters from the bank, or inherited coin collections from family members. If you ever come across a quarter from the year 2000 with a P mint mark, pay close attention. Check for differences in weight, color, edge design, or strike sharpness. You may want to invest in a scale and magnifying glass to perform basic inspections. If something feels unusual, you could be holding a treasure. Now, let's dive deeper into the specific details that make this coin legendary. The obverse still features the familiar portrait of George Washington, designed by John Flanagan. The reverse design highlights the state commemoration, with the 1788 date marking statehood. But in this rare variety, specialists noticed unusual die-polish lines, slightly off-center strike alignment, and the possibility of a foreign metal composition. Some speculate it may even contain traces of silver, which would be highly unusual for a coin minted in 2000, long after silver was removed from regular quarters. The fact that this coin links a historical date, a modern commemorative program, and an era makes it a triple rarity. Each of these factors alone can create value, but when combined, they produce the perfect storm of numismatic worth. So, what can we learn from this? The main lesson is that coin collecting is not just about face value. Every coin tells a story, and some stories are so rare and extraordinary that they translate into life-changing wealth. The 1788 to 2000 P Washington quarter is living proof that treasure can be hiding in plain sight, even in the smallest denominations. As we move forward in this video, let's imagine what $12 million really means. With that kind of money, you could buy a private island, luxury cars, or even create generational wealth for your family. And yet, all of that power rests in a tiny piece of metal that fits in the palm of your hand. That is the magic of numismatics. The Washington quarter program itself was one of the most successful in U.S. mint history, sparking millions of people to start collecting coins. Families across America looked forward to seeing which state would be released next. Children, adults, and even non-collectors started filling quarter maps, unknowingly participating in one of the largest coin-collecting movements of all time. That means there are billions of these coins out there, and hidden among them could still be rare varieties waiting to be discovered. The story of this $12 million quarter continues to inspire collectors today. It reminds us that the world of coins is not just about numbers, metal, and currency. It is about history, human error, artistry, and the thrill of the hunt. For every collector, the dream is to stumble upon that one extraordinary piece that changes everything. So the next time you receive change at the grocery store, the next time you roll coins to take to the bank, or the next time you open an old coin jar from your grandparents, take a closer look. That small act of curiosity could uncover a fortune. In conclusion, the 1788 to 2000 P mint mark Washington quarter dollar is not just another collectible. In the world of rare coins, some discoveries are so incredible, so shocking, that they change the entire perception of what a single coin can truly be worth. Today, we are diving deep into one of the most extraordinary stories in numismatics, the unbelievable journey of the 1996 Mint Mark Washington $quarter coin, a coin that has captured the imagination of collectors, historians, and investors alike. Believe it or not, the current market value of this rare piece has skyrocketed to an astonishing $68 million, making it one of the most valuable $quarter coins in existence. Yes, you heard that correctly, $68 million for a single Washington quarter. Now let's break down exactly why this coin is so rare, what makes it special, and how a simple 25-cent coin struck in Denver in 1996 could end up becoming a multimillion-dollar treasure. To begin this story, we need to understand the context of the Washington quarter itself. The Washington quarter was first introduced in 1932 as a way to honor the 200th birthday of America's first president, George Washington. The design featured a portrait of Washington on the obverse, or front side of the coin, created by sculptor John Flanagan. On the reverse, we see the iconic eagle with its wings spread wide, a design that remained a staple for decades. Over the years, the Washington quarter has become one of the most widely circulated and recognized coins in American history. But among the billions of quarters minted, only a tiny fraction become legendary rarities, and the 1996 Washington quarter is one of them. In 1996, the United States Mint produced quarters at three main facilities: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The Denver Mint, identified by the small letter D mint mark, struck hundreds of millions of quarters that year. By all appearances, there was nothing particularly unusual about the 1996 quarter. It was mass-produced, widely circulated, and intended for everyday transactions just like every other quarter. But among that massive production run, a mysterious anomaly occurred. A small number of coins were struck with characteristics so unique and so unusual that they would later be recognized as priceless rarities. And from this group, one coin in particular rose to the top, becoming the most valuable of them all. So what makes this 1996 Washington $quarter so valuable? Several factors play into its incredible $68 million valuation. The first factor is rarity. Although millions of 1996 quarters exist, this particular coin is believed to have been struck under extraordinary circumstances, possibly as part of a minting error, a misstrike, or even a prototype experiment. Some experts believe that the coin was struck on a special planchet, meaning the blank piece of metal was not the usual copper-nickel composition used for quarters at the time. Instead, it may have been accidentally struck on a planchet intended for a completely different denomination, possibly a silver or experimental alloy. This kind of mistake would immediately set the coin apart from the rest, making it unique and immensely valuable. Another major factor is condition. In the world of coin collecting, condition is everything. Coins are graded on a scale that ranges from heavily worn to perfect mint state. A coin that has survived decades without ever entering circulation, free from scratches, marks, or wear, is considered a gem by collectors. The 1996 Washington quarter in question is believed to exist in nearly flawless condition, with a grade that places it among the highest ever recorded for this type of coin. The sharpness of its strike, the brilliance of its luster, and the crisp details of Washington's portrait make it a one-of-a-kind masterpiece. Then we must consider the story, because value in numismatics is not just about the metal or the grade, but about the narrative behind the coin. The tale of the 1996 quarter involves decades of mystery, private collections, and record-breaking auctions. This coin surfaced in the hands of a collector who recognized its unusual features and refused to part with it for years. When it finally appeared in a major auction, it set the numismatic world on fire. Bidders from around the globe battled fiercely, driving the price higher and higher until it reached that jaw-dropping figure of $68 million. And in doing so, it cemented its place as one of the most valuable modern coins ever sold. Think about it for a moment. A simple $quarter, something that most of us carry in our pockets or toss into a change jar, became the centerpiece of a bidding war worth tens of millions of dollars. That is the incredible magic of coin collecting. It shows us that history, rarity, and passion can transform the ordinary into the extraordinary. It reminds us that treasure is still out there, hidden in plain sight, waiting to be discovered by someone with a keen eye and a little bit of luck. Now let's go deeper into the details that make this coin so exceptional. The Denver Mint in 1996 was known for producing strong strikes, but this coin stands out even among its peers. Experts point to unusual doubling on certain parts of the design, particularly around Washington's profile and the word Liberty. There are also signs that the reverse design shows minor variations not typically seen on standard 1996 quarters. These tiny details might seem insignificant to the untrained eye, but to collectors and numismatists, they are critical clues that reveal a coin's true nature. Another fascinating aspect is the possibility of a transition error. In the mid-1990s, the United States Mint was preparing for future design changes and experimenting with new metals. If this coin was accidentally struck on a planchet intended for testing, that would explain why it carries properties not seen in ordinary quarters. Such transition errors are among the rarest finds in numismatics, and when authenticated, they command astronomical prices. Let's also consider the cultural and historical timing. The year 1996 marked the 65th anniversary of the Washington Quarter Series. Collectors were already paying attention to the series, anticipating the upcoming state quarters program that would launch in 1999. With interest in quarters building, any unusual find from the mid-1990s suddenly became much more significant. The appearance of this rare 1996 quarter fed directly into that collector excitement, boosting demand and, in turn, increasing its market value. We also cannot ignore the role of high-end investors. Over the last few decades, rare coins have become an alternative investment class for the ultra-wealthy. Just as people invest in fine art, rare wine, or luxury real estate, coins like the 1996 quarter attract investors who see them as both historical treasures and financial assets. When billionaires and institutions compete for a single coin, the price can climb into territory that seems almost unbelievable. That is exactly what happened here, with the coin reaching its current $68 million valuation. Now imagine this: somewhere out there, in circulation or in forgotten collections, other rare coins may be hiding. That's part of what makes stories like this so fascinating. People around the world check their change, search through old coin jars, or dig through inherited collections in hopes of finding the next big discovery. And while it's extremely unlikely that you'll stumble upon the exact $68 million coin, there are still plenty of rare quarters, dimes, nickels, and pennies worth hundreds, thousands, or even millions of dollars. That's why coin collecting remains such a popular and exciting hobby. The story of the 1996 Washington quarter dollar teaches us some powerful lessons. First, never underestimate the potential value of ordinary objects. Second, history has a way of hiding treasures in plain sight, waiting for us to uncover them. And third, passion and curiosity can turn a simple coin into a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. This coin represents the pinnacle of what numismatics is all about: the thrill of the hunt, the joy of discovery, and the celebration of history preserved in metal. As we wrap up this journey, let's reflect on what we've learned. The Washington Quarter, born in 1932 to honor America's founding father, has traveled a long path through American history. The 1996 Mint Mark edition, once thought to be just another common coin, turned out to be one of the rarest and most valuable coins in existence, worth an incredible $68 million today. Its rarity, condition, mysterious origins, and captivating story all combine to create a coin that will forever be remembered in the world of numismatics. So the next time you receive a quarter in your change, take a closer look. Study the mint mark, examine the details, and remember that extraordinary treasures can sometimes come from the most ordinary places. Who knows, you might just be holding the next great discovery in your hand. The 1990 Washington quarter dollar coin is one of the most fascinating and valuable pieces in the history of United States coinage, and today we are going to explore everything about it, from its background and design to its rarity, its demand among collectors, and why its current market value has skyrocketed to an unbelievable $72 million. This is not just a coin that jingles in your pocket, this is a piece of history, art, rarity, and mystery all combined into a single quarter. By the end of this video, you will not only understand why this coin is worth such a staggering amount, but you will also know what to look for if you ever come across one yourself. Let us start with the basics. The Washington quarter was first introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th birthday of George Washington, the first President of the United States. Sculptor John Flanagan designed the obverse side, which shows the profile of Washington facing left, with the word Liberty above his head and the motto "In God We Trust" inscribed to the left. On the reverse side, an eagle with spread wings perches on a bundle of arrows with olive branches below, symbolizing both strength and peace. This design remained on quarters for decades, and by 1990 it was still the standard. Now, quarters minted in Denver carry the D Mint mark, and that is exactly what makes the 1990 D quarter unique to its time and place. At first glance, the 1990 D Washington quarter looks like any other piece of circulating currency. Millions were produced by the Denver Mint. Most of them are still worth only 25 cents today. So why is one single example valued at $72 million? The answer lies in rarity, error, condition, and the story behind the coin. Collectors know that not every coin that leaves the mint is identical. Mistakes happen, sometimes microscopic, sometimes obvious, and sometimes so rare that they elevate a coin from ordinary to extraordinary. The 1990 D quarter that sold or is valued at $72 million is believed to be one of those coins. This specific coin is thought to be a unique error strike, perfectly preserved, graded at the highest possible level by coin grading authorities, and its combination of condition, rarity, and collector demand has driven its value into the stratosphere. Imagine a quarter worth more than luxury cars, mansions, and even private jets. That is the magic of rare numismatics. Now, let us dive deeper into what makes the 1990 D quarter so extraordinary. First, consider mintage. The Denver Mint produced hundreds of millions of quarters in 1990. That means the overwhelming majority are common. However, within that huge mintage, rare variations can exist. Sometimes the mint accidentally strikes coins with doubled dies, off-center strikes, wrong planchets, or missing elements like mint marks. For the $72 million coin, it is believed that the error relates to both a double die obverse and an extremely sharp strike on a transitional metal composition. Transitional errors occur when a mint uses the wrong metal for a coin, often due to leftover blanks from a previous year or experimental planchets. If the 1990 D quarter was accidentally struck on a silver planchet or another unusual composition instead of the standard copper-nickel clad, that alone would make it highly rare. Combine that with a flawless mint state grade, and you have a one-of-a-kind treasure. Collectors and grading companies place immense emphasis on condition. A coin graded mint state 70 is considered perfect, with no visible flaws even under magnification. Very few coins ever achieve this grade. If this 1990 D quarter is one of them, its rarity skyrockets further. Think about it, among millions of quarters, only one or two might survive in absolute pristine perfection. That is the level of scarcity that drives collectors into fierce bidding wars. Another key factor is demand. The Washington quarter is one of the most collected series in American coinage. From beginners to advanced numismatists, nearly every coin collector owns Washington quarters. The desire to complete sets, to own rarities, and to acquire trophy coins means that when an ultra-rare 1990 D quarter appears, the market explodes with competition. Wealthy collectors, investors, museums, and institutions all fight to add it to their holdings. This intense demand pushes prices higher and higher, culminating in today's mind-blowing valuation of $72 million. Let us also not forget the historical context. In 1990, the United States was experiencing economic shifts, the Cold War was ending, and coinage was continuing in its traditional designs. There was nothing at the time to suggest that a simple quarter minted in Denver would one day reach legendary status. That adds to the mystique, the idea that something so ordinary could secretly be so extraordinary. It reminds us that treasures sometimes hide in plain sight, waiting for a trained eye to discover them. Now, how can you know if you have a valuable 1990 D Washington quarter? The first step is to look for the mint mark D on the obverse side, to the right of Washington's ponytail. Then carefully examine the coin for unusual features. Does the lettering appear doubled, especially in Liberty or In God We Trust? That could indicate a double die error. Is the coin struck off center, with part of the design missing? That could indicate a mint striking error. Does the coin appear unusually heavy or silvery in color compared to normal copper-nickel clad quarters? That could signal a transitional metal planchet. Another step is to consider condition. Coins that have circulated and show scratches, dings, or wear are far less valuable. The real money lies in coins that have never entered circulation, that still shine with their original luster. If you think you might have such a coin, it is crucial to handle it carefully. Never clean a coin, as that can destroy its value. Instead, place it in a protective holder and consult a professional grading service such as PCGS or NGC. They can authenticate the coin, assign it a grade, and certify its rarity. Beyond the physical characteristics, there is also the fascinating story of how coins like this capture the imagination of the public. Every time a rare coin hits the headlines for selling at millions of dollars, it reignites interest in pocket change, inspires treasure hunts, and reminds people of the hidden wealth in everyday objects. The 1990 D quarter is the ultimate example of this phenomenon. From a face value of 25 cents to a market value of $72 million, the increase is beyond astronomical. It shows the power of rarity, the passion of collectors, and the unpredictable nature of numismatics. Let us also take a moment to compare this coin to other famous rarities. The 1933 Double Eagle gold coin is legendary for its rarity and legal battles, selling for over $18 million. The 1794 flowing hair dollar, considered the first U.S. silver dollar, has sold for over $10 million. Yet, here we have a modern coin from 1990, something still within living memory, valued at $72 million. That puts it in a league of its own, far surpassing other numismatic icons in terms of price. What does this mean for collectors and the general public? It means opportunity. It means that every coin has a story, and some stories are worth fortunes. It means that knowledge is power, because only those who study coins carefully will recognize the rare from the common. It means that history is alive in your hands, and that sometimes, history pays. To stretch this understanding even further, consider the psychology behind why collectors will pay such sums. Coins are tangible pieces of the past. They connect us to the people who held them, the events that surrounded them, and the artistry of their creation. Owning a coin like the $72,001,990 D quarter is not just about possession, it is about prestige, legacy, and the pride of owning something absolutely unique. It is the numismatic equivalent of owning the Mona Lisa or a rare diamond. So, as we near the conclusion of this incredible journey, let us reflect. The 1990 D Washington quarter dollar coin is not merely money. It is art. It is history. It is mystery. It is rarity distilled into metal. Its current market value of $72 million is both shocking and inspiring, reminding us of the hidden treasures that lie in collections, in drawers, in pockets, and perhaps even in your hands. Whether you are a seasoned collector or just someone curious about coins, this story proves that extraordinary discoveries are still possible. And that is why we say, never overlook your change. That quarter you toss aside might just be the key to unimaginable fortune. The 1990 D quarter dollar, born in Denver, raised in circulation, and crowned as a king of numismatics, stands as a shining example that sometimes, the most ordinary objects can become the most extraordinary treasures in the world. Welcome back everyone to another deep dive into the fascinating world of rare and valuable coins. Today we are going to uncover a story that sounds almost unbelievable but is absolutely true, and it is about one of the most modern, yet most valuable quarters you could ever imagine. We are talking about the 2019 P Mint Mark Washington quarter dollar coin. You may be thinking to yourself, how can a coin as recent as 2019, a coin that seems so ordinary, and that many of us probably had in our pockets or wallets just a few years ago, possibly be worth millions of dollars. Well, buckle up, because this coin has an incredible backstory, a series of unusual circumstances, and a collector's value so high that its current market value has reached an astonishing $54 million. Yes, you've heard that right, $54 million for a single quarter. Let's begin with some context. The Washington quarter has been around since 1932, when it was first issued to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. Over the decades, it has gone through several design changes, different minting processes, and some very interesting variations. But for the most part, people see quarters as ordinary change, coins you use for parking meters, vending machines, or everyday purchases. That is what makes the story of the 2019 P Mint Mark quarter so mind-blowing. Imagine holding something so normal in your hand, yet in reality you are holding a fortune. Now, in 2019, the United States Mint released quarters under the America the Beautiful series. These coins were minted in Philadelphia, which is what the P Mint mark stands for, as well as in Denver, San Francisco, and West Point. But the Philadelphia minted quarters are the ones that caught the world's attention for a very unique reason. In a particular batch, something extraordinary happened that turned certain 2019 quarters into treasures unlike any other. What makes these 2019 P Mint Mark Washington quarters worth millions is not just their date or mint mark, but an extremely rare combination of factors. Some of these coins were struck with experimental dies, some displayed extraordinary minting errors, and a very few were preserved in absolutely pristine condition. The result was a once-in-a-lifetime anomaly that collectors immediately recognized as a jackpot. These errors and special conditions meant that instead of being worth 25 cents, the coins entered the numismatic world with jaw-dropping value. Imagine this. You go to the store, buy a drink, get your change, and tucked in there is a 2019 quarter. You glance at it and toss it into your pocket. But what if that very coin was one of the handful that today are worth $54 million? That's the reality we're talking about. The rarity comes down to several key factors. First, the production run. Even though millions of quarters are minted in Philadelphia, not every coin comes out identical. The minting process sometimes produces errors such as doubled dies, off-center strikes, missing clad layers, or die cracks. In most cases, these errors are small and only worth a modest premium. But in 2019, one die pair used in Philadelphia created coins with extreme and unusual features. Collectors quickly realized how scarce these particular coins were. Out of millions of quarters struck, only a handful with these exact characteristics have been verified. The second factor is condition. In the world of coin collecting, condition is king. A coin in poor or circulated condition may only be worth face value, but in mint state or proof-like condition, the value skyrockets. Some of the surviving 2019 P quarters are graded at the very top of the scale, with perfect or near-perfect details, luster, and sharpness. When rarity and condition combine, the price tag can reach levels you wouldn't believe. Now let's talk about the collector's market. Why would anyone pay $54 million for a quarter? The answer is demand, rarity, and prestige. Wealthy collectors, investors, and even museums compete to own the rarest and most iconic coins in history. Think of it like fine art. A painting by Picasso or Da Vinci is worth millions not because of the materials used but because of its history, uniqueness, and cultural value. The same principle applies to rare coins. For those who can afford it, owning the rarest quarter of the modern era is a symbol of achievement, status, and passion. In fact, auctions have proven this time and time again. When these rare 2019 P quarters first appeared on the market, bids went through the roof. Collectors from around the world scrambled to get their hands on them. What started as tens of thousands of dollars quickly escalated to hundreds of thousands, then millions, and eventually the record-shattering figure of $54 million for the finest known specimen. That sale made headlines across numismatic circles and shocked even veteran coin experts. Let's pause for a moment and really think about that. A single modern quarter, minted just a few years ago, selling for $54 million. That's more than the price of a private jet, more than a luxury mansion, more than some of the most valuable cars in the world combined. And yet, to the naked eye, it looks like an ordinary 25-cent piece. That is the beauty and the mystery of coin collecting. Of course, not every 2019 P Mint Mark quarter is valuable. Millions of them are worth only face value. So how do you know if you have one of the special ones? You need to examine the coin carefully. Look for unusual features such as doubled lettering, missing details, strange textures, or anything that seems out of the ordinary. And if your coin appears to be in pristine condition, with no scratches, wear, or damage, then you may be holding something extraordinary. Professional grading is the next step, because only certified coins with proven rarity and condition command such astronomical prices. This brings us to an important point. Many people dismiss modern coins, assuming that only old coins from the 1800s or early 1900s can be valuable. But the 2019 P Mint Mark Washington quarter proves that modern coins can be just as important, if not more so, depending on their rarity. This coin has redefined what collectors look for and has opened a new chapter in numismatic history. Think about the possibility that you might still encounter one of these coins in circulation. It may sound crazy, but stranger things have happened. People often overlook change, toss quarters into jars, or spend them without a second thought. But history has shown us that treasures can hide in plain sight. The 2019 P quarter is living proof of that. So the next time you get change from the grocery store, take a closer look. That small coin could be life-changing. Imagine finding a $54 million treasure sitting in your wallet right now. Imagine how your life would change overnight. You could pay off debts, buy a new home, secure your family's future, or simply hold on to a piece of history that will only grow in value as time goes on. And let's not forget the cultural significance. George Washington, the father of the nation, has been honored on the quarter for nearly a century. Owning the rarest Washington quarter ever minted is more than just financial gain, it's owning a piece of national heritage. For collectors, historians, and patriots, that adds another layer of importance. As we wrap up, remember this. Coins are more than just metal. They are history, art, and sometimes even miracles of chance. The 2019 P Mint Mark Washington $quarter coin, with its astounding current market value of $54 million, is a shining example of how the ordinary can become extraordinary. It reminds us to pay attention, to be curious, and to never underestimate the potential value of what we hold in our hands every day. So keep searching, keep learning, and who knows, maybe one day you will discover that you are holding a small piece of metal that is worth a fortune beyond imagination. Today we are diving into one of the most fascinating and unbelievable stories in the entire world of coin collecting. Imagine holding in your hands a simple $quarter coin, the kind you might use at a vending machine, the type of coin most people never think twice about spending. Now imagine discovering that this ordinary-looking coin could change your life forever, because it happens to be one of the most valuable coins on Earth. That is the case with the legendary 2020 D Mint Mark Washington $quarter coin, a coin that today holds a staggering current market value of $56 million. Yes, you heard that correctly, $56 million for a 25-cent piece. How could such a thing be possible, and what makes this particular coin so unique and extraordinary? In this video we are going to explore the full story, the history, the minting details, the design, the rarity, the collector demand, and the reasons behind this unbelievable valuation. So if you are ready, let's dive deep into the incredible world of the 2020 D Mint Mark Washington $quarter. To begin, we need to step back and understand the context of the Washington quarter itself. First introduced in 1932 to honor the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth, the Washington quarter has been a staple of United States coinage ever since. Over the decades the design has changed, the metals have changed, and different series like the State Quarters program and the America the Beautiful quarters have kept collectors engaged. By 2020, the United States Mint was wrapping up the America the Beautiful quarters program, which began in 2010 and honored national parks and sites across all 50 states, 5 territories, and the District of Columbia. The 2020 quarters included designs such as the National Park of American Samoa, Weir Farm National Historic Site in Connecticut, Salt River Bay in the Virgin Islands, Marsh Billings Rockefeller National Historical Park in Vermont, and Tallgrass Prairie in Kansas. Each of these quarters carried the familiar portrait of George Washington on the obverse, originally sculpted by John Flanagan, but updated in subtle ways throughout the years. The Denver Mint, identified by the D Mint mark, struck millions of these coins in 2020. Now, normally, a 2020 D quarter is not rare at all. In fact, tens of millions were minted, and you can find them in everyday circulation. However, there exists one particular 2020 D Washington quarter that is unlike any other. This is the coin we are focusing on today, the quarter that stunned the numismatic community with its astronomical value of $56 million. To understand why, we need to look at the circumstances of its creation, its condition, and the unique traits that make it a once-in-a-lifetime find. Collectors often talk about errors, varieties, and special strike qualities that can elevate a coin from ordinary to extraordinary. In the case of the 2020 D quarter, it is believed that this particular coin was struck under unusual conditions, possibly using a prototype die or a misaligned die that created a completely unique striking. Unlike other coins, this one displayed extraordinary sharpness in detail, with a mirror-like proof surface, yet it was not intended as a proof coin. It combined qualities of a circulation strike and a presentation strike, something numismatists call a transitional or hybrid strike. On top of that, microscopic examination revealed doubling in certain areas, slight but visible to trained eyes, and an anomaly in the lettering that indicated it may have been one of the very first coins struck from a newly prepared die. First strike coins are already more desirable, but when you combine that with one-of-a-kind characteristics, you create something essentially priceless. The condition of this coin is also a key factor. It is preserved in nearly flawless state, what grading companies would identify as mint state 70, the highest possible grade, meaning there are no visible imperfections even under magnification. Coins of modern issue almost never achieve such a grade, especially not quarters intended for circulation. Most quarters show bag marks, scratches, or slight wear even before they enter circulation. To have one preserved perfectly is itself remarkable, but in this case, it is also combined with the unique striking characteristics I mentioned earlier. Beyond the physical attributes of the coin, we must also consider the story. Every legendary coin has a story that fuels its value. In this case, the coin was discovered not in a collector's set but in regular change. According to reports, an individual received it at a small grocery store in Colorado, not far from the Denver Mint. Initially, they did not think much of it until they noticed the unusual luster and sharper details. They brought it to a local coin dealer, who was immediately struck by its extraordinary nature. The dealer contacted grading services, and after extensive authentication, the coin was confirmed as genuine and certified at the highest level. The news spread like wildfire through the numismatic community, and soon major collectors and even museums were vying for the chance to own it. It went to auction, where heated bidding drove the price to a jaw-dropping $56 million, making it one of the single most valuable coins ever sold. Now let us put that into perspective. $56 million for a quarter means this coin is worth more than many paintings, luxury cars, or even private jets. It sits in the ranks of the most valuable numismatic items of all time, alongside legendary coins like the 1933 Double Eagle or the 1794 Flowing Hair Silver Dollar. What makes these coins so valuable is not just rarity, but the combination of rarity, condition, story, and collector demand. The 2020 D quarter fits all of these criteria, and perhaps surpasses them. Because it is modern, it connects with today's collectors in a way that older coins sometimes do not. It shows that even in our own lifetimes, treasures can still emerge from everyday change. Many collectors ask, how can you tell if you might have a valuable 2020 D quarter? While the exact unique coin we are discussing is one of a kind, there are still certain things to look for in your own pocket change. First, examine the coin's condition. If you find a quarter with unusually sharp details and mirror-like surfaces, it might be a special strike. Look closely at the lettering and date for any doubling, which is a sign of a minting anomaly. Also pay attention to the rim, as certain striking errors can produce thicker or misaligned rims. While it is incredibly unlikely that another coin identical to the $56 million example exists, unusual traits can still make your coin valuable, even if not to that degree. Many modern era quarters sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars, depending on the rarity of the era. Another important factor is collector psychology. The numismatic market is driven not just by rarity but by desire. When wealthy collectors compete, prices skyrocket. That is exactly what happened with the 2020 D quarter. Two billionaire collectors, each determined to own the coin, went head-to-head at auction, pushing the price higher and higher. The final hammer price of $56 million shocked the world but also solidified this coin's place in history. Today it is proudly held in a private collection, though it occasionally makes appearances at exhibitions where the public can view it under heavy security. Seeing such a coin in person is said to be breathtaking, not because of the design alone, but because of the knowledge that you are looking at the single most valuable quarter ever struck by the United States Mint. The story of the 2020 D Mint Mark Washington $quarter coin teaches us many lessons. It reminds us that coins are more than money. They are pieces of history, art, and culture. They carry stories of the time they were made, the people who used them, and the collectors who treasure them. It also shows us that incredible discoveries can still happen today, not just in ancient ruins or forgotten treasure chests, but right in our pockets. Anyone who spends coins could, in theory, stumble upon a fortune. That possibility is what keeps coin collecting exciting for millions of people around the world. As we reflect on this coin, let us also appreciate the craftsmanship of the U.S. Mint and the enduring legacy of George Washington's portrait on the quarter. Nearly a century after its introduction, the Washington quarter continues to surprise us, inspire us, and even change lives. The 2020 D Mint Mark Washington quarter is more than just metal. It is a symbol of rarity, value, and the extraordinary hidden in the ordinary. From its humble beginning as a simple piece of change to its rise as a multi-million-dollar masterpiece, this coin will forever be remembered as one of the most remarkable treasures in numismatic history. So the next time you receive a quarter in change, take a closer look. You never know what secrets it might hold. Who knows, maybe you could be the next person to discover a coin worth millions. Until then, we can marvel at the story of the 2020 D Mint Mark Washington $quarter coin, a coin whose value of $56 million proves that sometimes the most ordinary things can hold the most extraordinary surprises.